that's it. That's the single sentence that defines who we are and what we represent.
Go get me some knowledge.
As I look back at De La Salle, I look back at Notre Dame, and I look back going to back-to-back Super Bowls, being in a championship organization like yourself, it's different, man. And I think the you got to be talented, but you also have to have trust, because trust says in the inevitable times of adversity, you can count on me. I will be there. I will do my job. I will find a way to get it done no matter what. And Bob and his staff with those Thursday night team dinners and then our Friday chapel services where it got all kinds of dusty, where you pick a Bible verse or pick a song in the air tonight by Phil Collins. Bro, we was ready to run through that butcher paper and kill El Cerrito.
Yeah, that one, the Phil Collins song gets everybody. I've been to so many different meetings and from all walks of life, and they put on Phil Collins in the air tonight. Yeah, let's go. You wait for that one part where the crescendo where they get going and everybody's running out of the building. You mentioned trust, though, AT, and everyone throws that out. Oh, trust. You got to build trust, culture. You mentioned you had it in high school, and we're going to get to college and we're going to get to the pros. How was it formed in high school? Was it just as easy as, hey, I said something, I kept my word? It's not just a bunch of bull crap that I'm spitting out into the universe. I'm actually mean what I'm saying, and I'm backing it up with example after example.
Trust is earned. So it's developed through consistency, and it takes time to do that. It's really easy to break it, but really difficult to create it and to establish it. And that's why it's something that I think amongst all other attributes really needs to be worked to be preserved in successful organizations and teams. It's got to start there. It's where, kids don't care what you know until they know that you care. Like, do you have my best interests in mind? Can I trust you that when you jump my ass and yell at me, that it's to help build me and not for your sake that you're frustrated that I made you look bad? Now, the words may sound the same and the videotape of that coach yelling at the player may be the same, but the energy that is communicated back and forth is implicitly understood by players. And I think even young players understand where the coach's intentions are. So it's got to be a two-way street. We have to earn the coach's trust with our consistency in play, and they have to earn ours by having answers, by having a good plan, by giving us an opportunity, by letting it be a merit-based culture, those sort of things. So it takes a while, just like in a relationship. You don't go on a first date with a woman that you end up marrying and spend the rest of your life with and, open up and tell your whole story. You just try to buy her as many drinks as you can and hope to get lucky. And when you don't, then you go, okay, this might be a keeper. And that's really oversharing on my story, but I love my wife.
That's fine. Yeah. Is that the part to me, it's what you just explained is a player being coachable. Sometimes I feel when a coach says a player isn't coachable, I feel like they have something to do with it. Saying they're not coachable to me is sometimes a cop-out. Well, he's not coachable. What do you want me to do? Throw your hands up. I can't get through to him. What do you want me to do? Well, maybe you should change your approach. Ultimately, I think each side bears some of the responsibility. You have to be open to the coaching, and you have to have the intelligence to make me believe I should use your technique and your philosophy to benefit from me. And then it'll manifest itself on the field, and we'll brag about it when we watch film.
Yep, it's a two-way street, man. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Players do have to be open to being coached, and it gets harder and harder, especially today where everybody's coddled and cuddled for kids to be coached hard like we were. I had a coach, Joe Moore, who sent 52 dudes to the NFL in 18 seasons. That's almost 3 per year. Never had a senior starter at Notre Dame that at least didn't have a cup of coffee in 9 years in the NFL. So his track record is unparalleled. I created a college football award in his honor. But that award is about toughness, and that award is about teamwork, and it's about us. I am because of us and the culture that was there. He worked us to a bone, man, but he did it for our sake, not for his. He always had our back when it came down to the coaches or the outside words or whatever. His job was to build belief in us. And first he believed in us, then we believed in his belief. Finally, we believed in ourselves. And when that happened, our opponents had problems. So there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. But to your point, sometimes players are so insecure that it's hard for them to be corrected. And I talk to young folks about having a kitchen strainer mentality, right? You take the strainer, it all goes in, you keep the good stuff and let the ish fall down the drain and let it go. But keep the stuff that's constructive, that can help you grow, that's intended to help you be better. And you'll know pretty quickly when you look at it through that lens, whether or not the words that are being shared with you have your best interest in mind, right? Are they qualified to be saying what they're saying?
Exactly.
If that answer's on Twitter or X, that answer's no. Don't even trip, let it go. But if it's somebody that you respect, if it's one of your coaches, if it's a teammate saying, Christian, man, we need a little bit more out of you, bud. Or Aaron, come on, man, you're not yourself. You're not playing with the same effort that you're playing with. Like, those are the sorts of things where, like, okay, and you start to build that bond that you're going to need in the playoffs in the fourth quarter at some point when everything's on the line and you look in the huddle, not that they huddle much anymore, but know that everybody's together and that you've got a shot.
So you mentioned Joe Moore. Now, for people who don't know, Joe Moore, legendary offensive line coach, coached at Pitt, Russ Grimm, had a ton of guys. You mentioned 52 dudes that he coached that are in that played in the NFL. He's your coach at Notre Dame, and your head coach is Lou Holtz. 90 to 94 for me, 89 to 93 for you.
90 to 94 for me as well.
90 94. Okay, so same. And Joe Moore ends up being this inspiration, not only to you, but all the other offensive linemen. And you mentioned this credo that you have for the Joe Moore Award that you created, that you established in 2015. And it's different than the rest of the awards because you won the Lombardi Award, which is given to the best offensive lineman. I don't know how you didn't win the Outland Trophy because that's given to, I guess, the best. It probably went to a defensive player, I'm assuming.
It did. Rob Waldrop.
Okay. Yeah. So it should have went to you, but fine. You're a two-time All-American. You win a national championship. But you decide to make an award, not for Lou Holtz, but for Joe Moore. And you mentioned the credo, I am because of us. It seems like a rallying cry. Like, what did you guys do when you broke the huddle? Did you guys all hold hands and say, I am because of us, and then snap the ball?
We can do this.
Well, we can do it.
Let's go get them. We got this. We can do it. No, that was really the credo itself, which is a long form, was really the North Star of what we wanted the award to be about. We were, building the airplane in the air when we took off in June of 2015. It was unprecedented. We were the only group or unit award. We didn't know how to vote or how to evaluate, and we just kind of had to figure it out on the fly, and ironically use the same principles that it requires to play the position to create the award that celebrates it. But the notion of I am because of us really came from the mind of a good dear friend, the late Jack Sichterman, who passed away, unfortunately, at a very young age from brain cancer, which is so ironic because his brain was so incredibly astute at being able to congeal these big concepts and condense them down into as few words as possible. So we spent months talking about the position, and he grew up in Wisconsin, was a big Packer and Badgers fan, and loved the sport of football, even though he was a hooper. But I really had to kind of coach him up about the ethos of five functioning as one, the sum being, or the whole being greater than the sum of the parts, and just that whole notion of what it takes to be on a team of any sort, let alone in the O-line room. And he was the one that came up with that. And I was like, that's it. That's the single sentence that defines who we are and what we represent.
Go get me some knowledge.